Okay, we've gone ahead and painted the frame, the back of the frame, and it's a little too green for my taste. So we're going to do a few things to kind of tone it down, and then also kind of give the illusion of peeling paint. And the way we're going to do that is with just a little D&H gray. And I've already started it on some of the sides, and pretty much it's kind of like a almost dry brushing, where you just want a little bit of paint on the brush, but not to the extent of dry brushing. And then you just kind of get paint on in spots where you still have some green coming through, and then some areas you're going to have a lot of gray, and in some areas you just want a little bit of gray. So you just kind of play around with it to see what you like. And this takes quite a while to do, so we'll kind of skip ahead. And then once we have all this done, I'll show you what else I'm going to do to kind of tone down that green so it's not so bright. So what else pretty much have all the gray on the back that I want. It looks okay. It's nothing really to be proud of yet. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add a little bit of color variation in here. And I've got some polyscale dirt and polyscale rust. And right here, I don't know if you can see that, let me move it. Right here I've got just basically a bottle of thinner. Just acrylic thinner, and it's pretty much become a sludge, because what I'm going to do is just do some really thin washes with different colors. And with these, it's a very crude method, but it kind of gets what I want. But it kind of get more of the colors we want here. And so if you just brush on actually some direct thinner, you can get some neat effects with making the colors run. You just put them in corners, and it'll really do some really neat effects to it. It'll just get kind of in all the little nicks and crannies when you get a really thin wash. You probably are not seeing it very good, but in some of these little areas it's just really sucking it in. Just let it run into all those little areas. And same thing, you can just kind of get it on some of these areas where it's near the ground, where you're going to get some splash up and dirt when it rains and whatnot. If you feel like you get a little too much on there, just dip your brush in some more thinner, and then you can still kind of play with it before it fully dries up. So, I mean, that basically sums it up. So the next step we'll kind of do is blend all these in. So we'll do that in just here. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and attack it with some India ink alcohol mix. And so this I always keep mixed up in a little bottle. And there's a brush that I always use with it. That's why it's pretty much all black. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and start piling this stuff on. And I'm trying to be careful not getting it on the front yet. We will, but I don't want too much on. This we're just going to kind of apply liberally to the back of the framework. Make sure you get both sides. And get my fingers in a different position. We're starting to look kind of good. So it's pretty heavily weathered, which is okay. That'll work for us. So now we can move on to the front. And the front I want to do just really light. I don't really want to just flood the whole thing in. So we're just going to just do a light coat. So basically if you have to redip, probably wipe most of it off onto paper towel. I'll just keep adding it on. So this is going to add a lot of texture, make the front kind of pop a little bit. And I need to look for somewhere I can grab it. Just keep running it on there. Do the other sides. Oops, I should wipe that off first. It's alright. The underside. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get the billboard at all. I want that to look, pretty good and clean. Okay, now that we've pretty much added all of the alcohol and the ink wash to it, something that kind of does is kind of flattens everything out a little bit, which is good and bad. And so something I found to do to kind of bring some things out, which is a really good thing to do, is just to add some highlights. And so what I'm going to use is some Reefer White, I've got a brush here that I've pretty much cut the bristles down so they're pretty thin, or they're just down to the tip. There's only a little bit there, so it's really kind of like a scrub brush. Is adding some highlights to it. And something good to do, just mainly on the corners. And it just kind of simulates natural light. If you get a little too heavy, you just kind of just wipe it off with your finger. Just generally get it on all those nice little corners. A little too heavy, wipe it off in there. And just go across these details. This is just kind of make everything jump out a little bit. So I'm not going to do it too much on the framework. Mainly on the face, because that's basically what's going to be seen the most. If you feel you go a little too heavy, then you can just do a little India ink alcohol wash over the top of it, and that'll kind of help blend it in a little more. So we'll just do a little bit on the back on some of these corners. You just got to kind of scrub it in. I don't want to do too much on the framework because it is kind of fragile and risk damaging a lot of it. So just a little bit here and there, and you're pretty good. So it's kind of hard to tell right off, but it makes a big difference. Actually, went a little heavy right there. See if I can fix that up. So pretty much the only thing left that we need to do on here is just add the builder's plate onto the frame. And the way I'm going to do that is I have a little general outdoor advertising company sign that I got off of one of our free downloads on the site. I'm just going to glue right here at the bottom of the frame. So, and that's going to finish it off, and we'll call it done.